So I'm one of the most skeptical people when it comes to buying stuff. I need all the information. I want the price up front. I want to know what it does. I want to know how it works. And I used to be even more skeptical when I was younger because I didn't have much money. And now I buy stuff and even if I use it and I get one thing out of it and it makes me more money, then it's completely worth the money. So in this video I want to talk about probably the best investment that I've ever made. And it's not a stock, it's not a crypto, it's not one of those things. It's simply I paid someone to tell me what to do. And it's kind of counterintuitive, right? You think, oh, investment, David, you invested in a business, you invested in an investment, some sort of stock, some security, some crypto coin, some meme coin. And no, so I was stuck for a while in my business. And I realized a while ago that I was the bottleneck in my business. And that if I was to continue being a one man army, that the business actually wouldn't grow. And we needed to do things in terms of hiring, in terms of management and automations and systems, but mainly we needed to do something on one of the qualitative sides of the business. And that was the psychology of the business. And I have a background in finance, but I'm a very big fan and believer in psychology. And I basically paid one of the best people in the world who is a very private person to basically tell me exactly what I needed to do to get over the hurdle and the bottleneck that I was experiencing. And at that point, the business was hovering around $70,000 to $100,000 a month in revenue. And I basically didn't know what I was going to do in order to scale. I didn't know what I was going to do to basically spawn more money from the ether with the traffic that I had, with the customer base that I had. And I realized that we needed to figure something out in terms of the messaging and how we're actually speaking to the customer. And in the consulting business now, that's the main thing that I focused on. And the reason why we've been able to do so well for the clients that we work with is because we focus on the messaging, we focus on the customer psychology, and we focus specifically on who we're talking to. We focus specifically on, regardless of whether it's somebody selling a roof, or somebody doing pest control, or somebody selling an info product for dating courses, we focus first and foremost on who we're talking to. And so I think a lot of the time, especially because when I was at $10,000 to $20,000 a month specifically, I remember back in early 2022 when this was happening, and so it hasn't been that long, and my rise to the relatively to the top of the mountain has been fairly quick. And what I realized is that when I was at the 10 to 20 to 30K a month mark, I felt like a god. I felt like I was someone I could do no wrong, like I was King Midas, like every single thing that I touched turned to gold. And now I kind of realized that even though I know a lot of stuff and I can teach so many things, especially here with these YouTube videos, that in terms of the online space as a whole, there's not very many people left that I can learn from. And there's two specific areas that I think that I can learn from, especially from people who've built bigger businesses in my space. But now I look to businesses and I look to companies and conglomerates and corporations and international companies who are doing billions of dollars a year in transaction volume in some sort of, private equity space and things like this, like companies that have been around forever. And I take elements of what works from them and I make things work for myself. And if you haven't seen me before, you'd know that that is my business philosophy. And I've always been very skeptical. I've always been somebody who, really takes their time to pull the trigger on things. But I remember being in this position, and actually the person that I paid is a very good friend of mine, and he gave me a very good deal because he's very expensive. And he basically told me on one call in 1 hour, and I paid him over $10,000 to tell me this, but he told me this one thing, and it was something that I already kind of knew, and something that I already kind of knew was right. And he told me this thing, and it completely changed the way that I looked at business forever. It completely changed the way that I did business. It completely changed everything for me. And it was 100% worth it, because I remember right after he had paid me, or right after I had paid him, and right after we had that call, I started implementing everything right away. And like I said, he's very private. He's very low key about the things that he does. But as soon as he told me that and I implemented it, the next few months that I implemented that into the business and into the entire enterprise of operations that we have going on, I basically spawned like $500,000 from the sky in the span of like a few months. And it's still to this day the best investment that I've ever made. And he can even use this as a testimonial. He knows. I'll send it to him and he'll know exactly, obviously what I'm talking about. But it was the best investment that I ever made. And it was simply just paying for information of somebody to just tell me how to do things. Because even when I was at 20, 30K a month and I thought I was King Midas, the guys who were doing 300K to 500K a month at the time are like just laughing at you. You're like a little fish, a little guppy in the pond, right? And so there's guys that are even further ahead than that. And there's guys that have built enterprises and built empires and built these businesses internationally that you can simply just pay for advice. And that is hands down, like I said, the best investment that I've ever made. I've made solid investments. I've also made some very bad investments. And I am a type of person where even still to this day, I'm very skeptical. I have to know if the product is going to work. I have to know if the service is going to work, or I have to know that the person that I'm paying really truly knows their stuff and can prove that they have the results. So it's been interesting over the past, I've known this for a little over a year now, of how my business has changed and the way that I operate has changed, because the thing that he told me that I paid him to tell me was just, it made so much sense. And I want you guys to understand watching this that like you can't watch your own back. You can't watch, you can't, I have fairly long arms. Like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but like I'm fairly tall. I have fairly long arms. I can't really scratch my own back, especially when that one spot gets kind of itchy. So at the end of the day, it's like you need somebody to do it for you. And you always are going to need somebody who's just a few steps ahead of you along the way. There's a lot of gurus, especially online, and a lot of people online now who are giving advice, and they might be doing 50 million, $100 million a year, or they might be doing something around that. If you're at zero, you can't really learn from these people, because the only advice that they can give to a big enough total addressable market is blanket advice, like get more leads, get more sales, do this, do that. And it's very hard to get hyper specific advice from these people because they have to know more about you and your business in order to do that. And so for me, it's like with these videos, I can just simply tell you guys all the sauce that got me from 0 to 6 and 7 figures. It's not that difficult. If you have the effort and you have the right guidance and you have the right mentorship, it's very fucking simple in order to do that. But the thing is where a lot of people go wrong is like the consumption of information is just so rampant that it's so hard to differentiate the realness from the noise and what works from what's actually bullshit. So at the end of the day now, we're living in this economy, and especially a micro economy here online, where there's so much information, there's so many different ways to make money, and there's so many different ideas being perpetuated and propagated into the marketplace that you are overloaded, especially as a consumer, or even me as a business owner, you're overloaded with 25 to 50 different things on a daily basis. You scroll on your phone, you see some kid doing wholesale real estate. You see someone else making $1 million with Amazon. You see someone else making money with e-com on Shopify with drop shipping. You see TikTok shop. You see high ticket sales. You see copywriting. You see all of these different business opportunities. And you sit there and you're like, oh, well, I want to try all these different things. And in reality, the best investment that you're ever going to make is going to be into yourself. And my advice to you is you have to pick something and stick with it, because shiny object syndrome never got anyone anywhere. And shiny object syndrome was a big reason for a lot of the failures that I've had in business. And I don't really publicize my failures that I've had, but I've had a shitload of them. And anyone who tells you otherwise, who is in business, will tell you the same thing, because there's so many times that you're going to fail, but you only need to succeed once. And we used to have a joke where we used to say, you only got to get rich once, because everything after that is about preserving it and making sure that you're doing the right things. And you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your education. And the best investment that I've ever made, which was probably a 50x, and I know there's probably going to be some guys in the crypto market who are like, oh, 50x, I got that yesterday. Well, I am able to use that for the rest of my life. What he told me in a span of phone calls, I have implemented into my business and made shitloads of money from. What he told me was able to make me over $500,000 in the span of a year in extra added to the business just from that one thing. And when you look at business holistically and you look at it systematically and based on the principles and the fundamentals, and you do business not based off tactics, not based off trends, not based off the new affiliate marketing thing, not based on the new drop shipping product, not based on the new thing. And you do business simply from the fundamentals, where business is people and business is about making offers and deals that make sense. What ends up happening over a long enough time horizon is that you become successful. And if you want to invest, you invest in one thing, you invest in the right thing, and you invest in the person that's just a few steps ahead of you or has already done exactly what you're trying to do, whether they were an operator of that business, whether they were an owner of that business. And you need to make sure that you're pulling the trigger, if you do choose to buy something, on the right things. And if you do choose to make an investment, because a lot of the times, I mean, I paid, like I said, over $10,000. We've done about, we've done multiple 5 figures in business together now, and I pay him for his time. But at the end of the day, it's like, that money I had to know was going to the right place, and I made the right decision. And it's all about, because he had educated me so much and given me so much game, that when he was like, hey, do you want to do this thing? I have this offer for you. I literally couldn't say no. So if you want to make money and you want to be successful, you have to get rid of the shiny object syndrome. I always say that it's better to do one thing really well than a lot of things all right, which is, basically you jack of all trades, master of none. And so when you look at it, you pick one thing, you're watching these videos, you're learning from me, you pick one thing, you do it, and then if you need the guidance or you feel like you need the guidance, then you can pay somebody. And I wish that I paid him years ago versus last year. Because if I had known what he knew and what he taught me, instead of making $500,000, I probably would have made about $5 to $10 million over the course of that time, just because it was simply a longer time horizon. So that is the gist and the story kind of the best investment that I've ever made. And it is easier to get a return on something like that than it is to get a return in day trading or crypto or something in the marketplace like that. And you really just want to make sure that you're doing the right things on a day-to-day basis, that you're paying the right people, because there's a lot of bullshit out here. And like I said in many, many times before in these videos, the reason I make these videos is because I don't want you to be another broke person or another broke idiot on the internet. I don't want you to be one of these people who is just kind of going through the motions, who's trying everything within a span of 6 months. Because if you try everything, you're never going to achieve what's called adeptness at that skill. You're never going to even be all right at it. You're going to be bad. You're going to struggle. You're going to quit. And then you're going to move on to the next thing. And then the next thing. And then the next thing. And then you literally wake up 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later, you haven't made any money. You're one of these people who's just, oh, that guy's making money online and he sucks. And you turn into somebody who's filled with hate and vitriol. And I don't want you to be one of those people. Because if you're watching these videos, there's a really good chance that you can apply all of the information, all the game that I give you for free here on YouTube. It is literally free. And apply the stuff in your business, apply the stuff in your life, and make sure you're doing the right things and moving forward with the right people. Because if you don't, you're going to end up like one of these people who's just gotten burned and tried all the different things and all the different business models and the next new hot thing, and you never end up great. And my goal not only is to make you guys successful, but my goal is to make you into a person who can go into an industry, who can go into business and absolutely fucking dominate. And I say that so passionately because I believe it. Because if you listen to me, if you're a fan of me, you're a fan of yourself. And I truly believe that with the things that I teach here on YouTube, like I said, for free, you can go into a marketplace and you can make some money. And there is so much opportunity out there. And there's opportunity to do your own thing. And if you're a person that has just been burned so many times, or you're a person who has just been, through the ringer with every different business model, I just want you to know that I've been there, and I don't want you to give up on yourself. I don't want you to be one of those people. I don't want you to completely just cut the cord, and I want you to be successful. So if you guys want, there's some free stuff in the description. It's the story of the best investment that I've made to date. I might make a better one, who knows? But that being said, this goes for when you're at every single level. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner, doesn't matter if you're advanced, it doesn't matter if you're worth millions of dollars already. There's always somebody a step ahead of you, somebody that you can learn from. And I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.